Hey guys, Niklas here from Your Audio Solutions. I hope you're doing well and awesome to have you here this week. Today we have Maor Appelbaum, who is a mastering engineer in Los Angeles. He has worked with artists such as Faith No More, Yes, Eric Gales, Yngwie Malmsteen, and many others. It was a pleasure talking to Maor, and I think you're gonna find this interview very useful yourself. And in this interview with Maor, we spoke about why you need to work to get work, using ads to grow your business, starting his career in the US by working for Syliva Massy, how he built his client base, pricing and selling yourself, making sacrifices to support his career, investing money to grow your business and studio, the best way to communicate with your clients, and much more. Maor also has a new course that just came out, and there's a link to that below. It's a mastering course, so check that out. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And also check out Maor's website. There's also a link to that below. But before we get into the interview with Maor, I want to tell you about a free guide you can download right away. It's called 3 Tested Ways to Increase Your Client Base. And I made this guide for people who want to increase their client base. They want to get a foot in the door of the music industry, get a job in a recording studio, for example, and how to build profitable relationships and all that sort of stuff. So if you want to increase your client base, this guide is for you. Check it out. It's free. Link to that below as well. But now over to Maor Appelbaum. Awesome, Maor, to have you here. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I know it's late for you in Los Angeles, where you're based. But it's a pleasure to have you here. The first question I'd like to ask you is a quote I heard from you, where you said, "I work to get work, and it works." And I'd love for you to expand on that quote, what it's meant for you, and your career and life. Yeah, so far.
It's a quote I wrote or invented to myself probably around just a bit more than a decade, something like that, or something like that. And it basically it sums up that my passion for what I'm doing is above all, and I work on that so much that I want to keep doing it. So in order to keep doing it, I got to work, and I got to work to get my work in order to keep working.
Mm.
So it's all kind of like a cycle. Like I work hard to improve my skills and craft, and then I work hard to get that out to people, and then getting back from what comes out to get the things to come in, and then run that cycle. So as long as I keep working on improving what I can give to my clients, as long as I can work to bring more in, then it feeds itself.
Mm.
So everybody wins. My clients win, I win, we all win because it's a cycle. I work to get the work and it works, you know.
Yeah,
To get the work is not just going and hustling to get the work, it's also improving the actual work you can do.
right. Makes
That way you're
sense.
getting better results. Those better results come with, you know,
Hmm.
um, better potential to get more things in, and that cycles itself.
So, yeah, can you tell us how you actually go out and get work, how you get clients, and all those sort of things for your studio, for your career?
it, it comes from different ways of getting the clients. One of them is actually meeting some of them at shows. um, you go to a show of an artist and you get to talk with them. Some of them is people who know them that know you, that make an introduction between you guys. The like I'll go to a show and somebody will introduce me to someone else, and hey, this guy does mastering if you need, or he did my last record. I recommend him to you. Another way is just the word of mouth of people knowing you, telling people, which is kind of like the recommendation thing. The
Mm.
only difference is the word of mouth sometimes is not in front of you. So that could be, just by people telling people or sending clients your way. Could be a mixing engineer or producer that's working with an artist and now they wanted to get it mastered. So they'll tell the client to reach out to me, or they'll reach out to me and tell me about the project and put me in the loop of
Right.
working with the artist. And in other cases, it's records, singles, EPs, albums I've done in the past that these clients like, and they got in touch with me because of those records. Could be 10 years ago, um, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 7 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever. If those records resonated with them and they
Mm.
like it, you know, they like what they heard,
Yeah.
they might get in touch. Um, Also, going to trade shows and events, conventions, you meet people there. It's an opportunity to talk to people, tell them what you do, and
Did you say you use
advertisement.
ads too? Yeah.
I haven't done advertisements specifically online yet.
Hmm.
There's a course, a mastering course that I've done with a company that's that came out, and then there's ads for that. But
Right.
I personally haven't done yet any social media paid
Hmm.
advertisements.
Is that
But
something you want to do, or?
well, in time I'll see, if it can be effective and how much could
Hmm.
be effective. Right now, I'm advertising in a magazine,
Okay.
actually, two magazines,
Right.
and it's not that the advertisements bring you the clients; it's more of people seeing your name there.
Mm.
Oh, I hear some people say that they tried advertising and it didn't work, and I've been advertising for, I don't know, probably 9 years,
Right.
and I'm not expecting work from it directly. It's more of like people see it.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah, I guess
and I think,
that's the name of the game when it comes to advertising, to keep showing up. So when someone is ready to get their music mastered, you will pop up in their head. Um,
yeah, it's visibility, and I've
yeah.
seen it. I've seen the producers come to me and ask me, "So how is those ads going for you?" And I'm
Mm.
thinking, wait a minute, if they're asking me about those ads, it means they're seeing them.
Yeah, yeah,
And if
exactly.
they're seeing them, that's good. And I've got some work from, you know, probably not from the ad itself, but from those people who saw my name again. And,
Hmm.
I believe in advertising. It's just, you have to be smart with the advertisement. Certain markets need to see you, certain
Hmm.
markets need to see a bigger ad or a smaller ad. It really depends also budget wise. You don't want to
Yeah,
throw too much money on something that won't have a long term impact.
yeah.
Unless sometimes you do want a short term impact, but you have to have a reasoning behind that short term impact.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, but I guess advertising is also like a sacred cow. Um, it's almost like if you do advertise, it's almost looked upon as bad. Like, oh, is this guy advertising? Um, you know, that's something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, but that's something I've been
no, no.
feeling from
Uh,
the industry itself.
People like to attach wrong things
Mm.
easily to things because it's always easy to take something and turn it to a negative thing than a positive thing.
Mm.
It's like saying no is easier than to say yes
Yeah.
because yes requires you to do something. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody tells you, I don't believe the difference between this and that. You're like, how about we do a test and show? I don't want to do that. Okay, then it's easier to say no because there's nothing required from you after that no, where a yes requires you to take action.
Yeah.
Same with people saying negative things about, oh, he's advertising. He's probably not doing well.
Hmm.
Maybe he is doing well. Maybe he has the money to put on advertising because he's doing well. Look, there's so much things out there that people miscommunicate with, misinterpret it. It's easy to do the wrong thing on the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that people advertise because they need business, because they're hungry for business. They might be, but they might not be. They might just be advertising because they want to expand their abilities to get to people.
Mm-hmm.
They might be doing amazing and they just want to keep being amazing in what they're doing. And so there's nothing bad in advertising. That's why I don't bash people for posting stuff about themselves or promoting something, or yeah, you want to post it. If somebody doesn't like to see it, they don't have to see it. You know,
Exactly.
people get too excited from things that they don't need to get excited. There's so much stuff out there that you should get excited about, and you're wasting your time getting excited about the wrong things.
Yeah.
I mean, like, focus on being good in what you're doing. Focus on being helpful. Focus on being professional. Focus on what's really important. And I think what's important is really doing good and
Mm.
helping and being there and you know making a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's more important. And if I spend money on advertising, I chose to spend that money. I could spend the money on coffee
Yeah.
instead of advertising. It will be a lot of cups of coffee, probably keep me awake for a whole year, but I prefer, instead of putting it on coffee, I'll put it on an advertisement.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense, man. So when you started out, how did you grew or grow? What's the word? How did you grew your client base back then? Because I know you came from Israel, moved to US. I'm very curious to how you actually, because that's it's not easy to move a country. I've done it. It takes time to build relationships, and I know you have gone through that process. So how was it for you? Coming to US, building your business, basically.
I moved to America in the summer of 2007,
Hmm.
which is not a lot of years ago.
No.
And I worked for Sylvia Massy, producer Sylvia Massy. I
Hmm.
worked for her. I did different jobs in the studio. I was a mix assistant. I did also some mixing. I did some tracking. I did some engineer, like various engineering roles. I did some, assistant engineering. I did some mastering for stuff that I would bring in. I did some kind of like, maintenance stuff. I did kind of all around, but that was my first stop in America. And then when I came to LA, I took a job at a retail store selling some pro audio gear for
Hmm.
4 months. During that time, I was already mastering, but I wanted to have enough money to pay rent and buy a car. So I needed that extra income just to kind of have a bit of a push for the beginning, you know.
Hmm.
So then I had a car, then I had some rent, it was easier to buy the food, and I was basically hustling. Like, I'll be honest with you. I went outside, I went to clubs, gave cards to everybody. Like, I printed like thousands of cards,
Yeah.
just hand them. And I would talk to people and, you know, tell them what I do. I was like upfront, like, this is what I do. Some people don't like that. They're like, oh, wow, this guy's, uh, you know, telling what he, and some people like you to, I don't know, like, I still don't get it. But anyway,
Hmm.
I was just like, this is what I do. Here's my card. I'll be happy to work with you.
Hmm.
And then if they want, they can talk to me and we can move forward. And I did that, and some people saw my passion, and they were like, wow, this guy is like really hardcore. And they're like, if he's that crazy about what he's doing, maybe we should give him a try.
Hmm.
And I was lucky enough to meet a few of those people, and they gave me a good start. And
Right.
you know, um,
How did
producer
you?
Roy producer Roy Z is
uh,
one of the first guys who gave me an opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, and he
Nice.
saw my passion, and we've done tons of records.
Hmm. That's great. So how did you get in touch with Sylvia Massy from having moved from Israel to US?
There was a band that she produced from Israel called Seek Irony,
Right.
and she did an album with them, and then they released like 3 songs of the album,
Hmm.
and I mastered those 3 songs.
Right.
And they're friends of mine since they started. We know each other from back in the day,
Mm.
and I I wanted to move to America, so I thought, okay, well, I sent emails to a bunch of people. Nobody wanted me. Like
Right.
nobody nobody wanted to have, and then I decided to just give her a call. And I said, "Hi, my name is Maor. I work with Seek Irony. I mastered her stuff." And I said, "Look, in the summer I'm free. Can I just come and intern?" She's like, "Yeah, why don't you bring some mastering stuff, because I told her that's what I'm doing." She accepted me, and I came there, and I worked for her for 8 months, every
That's
day,
awesome.
from morning till night till early morning, weekends,
Yeah.
holidays, whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. That's awesome, man. So how was that first call then? Were you nervous making that call asking?
yeah, well, I mean, to me, every time I talk to somebody that I know of, I still get excited. I'm
Mm.
not gonna lie to you. It's like when I get a call from somebody who's like I grew up listening to, it's like, oh wow, that's amazing. I get to talk with this guy. you know. Yeah, I'm still it doesn't matter how many records I've done, I still get excited
Mm.
from talking to artists, that
Yeah.
are passionate about what they're doing, especially if I grew up on what they're doing, or if I know of what they're doing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But so you're working for Sylvia, you're working at the Pro Audio Shop. How did you get the ball rolling to eventually move away from the store and doing mastering full time?
I didn't have time to do both. It got to a point where the hours at the store was taking away hours of my mastering. And
Mm.
basically, I came to do mastering. I didn't come to sell gear.
Yeah.
So I decided that I need to leave the store. So I was fair with them. I gave them, I think it was a 2 weeks notice or 3 weeks. I forgot how much. But also, I tried to be to work with them and be as good as possible, even though I was heading out. And then it didn't make sense to keep both of them because the mastering was taking more time, and back then internet was way slower, like to
Mm.
upload a file. And you couldn't just leave the file to upload because a lot of times there was an intermittent connection. And if you would leave it there and wake up in the morning, you would find that the file was not delivered.
Right.
There were a lot of times where it's like the file got stuck. Now I got to reload it again. And you're
Ah.
looking at somebody sitting in front of his screen 4 a.m. Oh, the file is not uploading. Oh, it got stuck again. I got to upload it again. So,
Yeah, that's annoying.
you so back then it was, you had to wait a long time to upload files. Internet connection was slow. The bandwidth was smaller, and the companies who were doing those file sharing, file loading, or whatever it's called,
Mm.
space was smaller. We couldn't put an album that quick. You had to put songs. I
Right.
actually used Skype to upload files.
Oh yeah? Like in the
Yeah,
chat or
yeah, yeah,
wow.
because we're not limited to how many files we could upload.
Right.
And the size was not a problem on Skype. It was just taking longer to upload. You
Right.
were not limited to the size. Of course, we're not sending gigs. We were just sending
Sure.
megabytes. But I remember sitting. I think I was doing a Yngwie Malmsteen record,
Mm.
and the guy who mixed it was in Miami,
Right.
and he's sending me files, and I'm sending him, and we're like, oh, it gets stuck online. Let's put it on the Skype, and we found that we can do it on Skype, and we were sitting like literally sitting in front of the screen like this,
Yeah.
till 4 a.m. You got the file? Yeah, I got the file. Okay, I'm gonna get some rest and I'm gonna work on it in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. I was doing that record. I finished it after I was not working at the Pro Audio Shop, but I started it when I was working at the Pro Audio Shop. It
Mm.
was Perpetual Flame, I think it was called. Yeah,
Right.
Flame. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's a funny story.
Well, I
uh,
had I had a few funny stories back then, like when I got a call from a very famous bass player, and I was at the shop,
mm.
and I was like, "Oh, I gotta talk with him. I don't want any client to come and bother me. I don't want to, I want to be focused on call and not have to say, "Hey, look, I got a client here or somebody." And I hid. I went behind something, and I was like, "Hi,"
Well, yeah.
with the client. Yeah,
That's funny,
crazy.
man. Um, but so, because I also heard you speaking about being able to, sell yourself, the importance of being able to sell yourself. And that's something that's really important, yes, still obviously, but also in the beginning of your career, I guess. So can you tell us your process of getting good at that, or how you did it back then, or still do it actually?
You mean in getting clients?
Yeah, I guess so. If you're talking to a potential client, how do you sell yourself to them, or just if it's a no one who's never heard about you? I guess that goes back to the advertising a bit, though.
You know, some friends of mine tell me, they say, "Oh, you're good at PR, you're good at marketing." I tell them, "No, I'm not good at PR or marketing. I'm not
Mm,
good at that." The only difference between me and them is just I'm handing out the business card.
right.
It's like I'm just doing the initiative of here's my information. Like,
Mm,
here, get in touch. Like, I don't know how to market myself good. I'm not good at marketing. I'm
mm,
not good at PR. I
mm,
know some people will disagree with what I'm saying, but I see how other people work. They're way better than me. It just, I don't have a problem telling somebody, "Hi, my name is Maor Appelbaum. I'm a mastering engineer." I don't have a
mm,
problem with that. Okay. Now, some people don't want to hear that. Okay. And some people are like, "Oh, I need a mastering engineer." You know?
mm,
So I personally, I really don't know what's the magic formula of acquiring clients. I don't know what's the magic formula of PR
mm,
and marketing. What I
right.
do know is and I think that's what works for me. When your passion about what you're doing is so much like on a level that it defines you in a way. And I know it's some people will say it's bad, but and it might be bad, but I think when your passion defines you, people know it's you. Just like an artist, you don't know him as not as an artist.
Mhm,
You know him as an artist.
mm,
That's his passion. It defines him,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't know who Bono is if he wasn't in U2,
Exactly.
right?
Mm,
And what's U2? It's
yeah.
his passion. It's his work of life,
Mhm,
right?
mm,
That's how you know him.
yeah.
So, in my case, I think mastering defines what I do, and it's my passion. And when I meet people and I tell them what I do, it might turn off some people, it might not turn off some people, but it's undeniable in the fact that that's what I'm doing because I'm showcasing that's what I'm doing. Just like you're doing a podcast with me right now,
Mm,
right?
mm,
I know that I'm doing a podcast with you, right? There's the communication right now. That's the same thing. It's like if it's coming out like that, people notice it. Now they can ignore it, okay? But if it comes across them in different ways, then they can come to you. I can only tell you that the ways I've worked with probably gravitated certain people to me and probably rejected people from me.
right. Yeah, but that's good, obviously, in a way, because if people don't want to work with you, it's good that they get separated from you, basically. Um, so,
It's like music. Some people like that music, some people
mm,
don't like that music, right?
mm, mm,
You
exactly.
can't please them all.
Yeah. But
So
so,
I think that I think just what worked is is that I was upfront with what I'm doing and what I wanted.
Right. Yeah, that's very good. But when do you think passion can become bad? I know you mentioned it quickly there, but is there a point where it can become detrimental to your personal life, career
Yeah,
maybe as well?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it took its toll in my life a lot of times.
Right.
I admit that. Like, you know, I it affected my health.
Mm.
It affected my family life. Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm not gonna lie about that. You
Right.
know, it's, you know, um, people call it work-life balance. I can't say I have a work-life balance. I can say that nowadays I give more time to the family and to raising my kids, and I have more time because I have the ability to uh, decide the time. How do I spend the time, and I have better tools to work with. I mean, think of it. Internet is quicker. I can send a record, and in half an hour it's there. And now I can take a break, go with my kids, and if they approve it and give me the approval, great. If not, then I'll finish the stuff, then I'll go back and I'll fix it. But the tools are quicker today in that term. And not only the tools, like how fast the internet is, communication. We have so many ways of communicating: Skype, WhatsApp,
Hmm.
Messenger, phone calls. I mean, we have so many tools for different uses.
Yeah.
Um, and also the studio that I have, I always work on improving it.
Mm.
I work on getting custom made and custom modified tools that make my workflow better for me. I get the tones that I want quicker. Quicker doesn't mean in seconds. It means quicker that I can approach the project better, and more focus on the creativity
Mm.
of it,
Yeah.
and creative and listening. Listening environment is really good, so I can make better decisions.
Mm.
And also, um, the gear itself sounds to me really good, and I have a wide range of different gear that I can choose from. If something doesn't fit,
Yeah.
I can change it with something that might fit.
Right.
So now I can give my clients more, and I can also deliver faster
Mm.
and be with my family.
Yeah, that's good. But what was the point in your life when you realized, oh, I need to change my priorities around, sorry. Was there one specific moment or was it something you realized over time, so to speak?
You know, you want to achieve the best in all worlds. You can't. It's always a sacrifice.
Mm.
When things got better with the tools that I could get faster results, that helped me put the time on the other stuff as well. But today it's a different situation for me. First of all, I have a second kid.
Mm.
Okay, so back then I only have had one child. I have a second one, so I have a bit more experience of having a kid.
Mm.
That one was a boy, this is a girl, but you learn a bit more, so you know better what to do, and you grow and you learn in general. You know, in terms of priorities, raising kids in LA ain't cheap.
Right.
Private school is not cheap.
No, I can imagine.
Paying 20 grand for 10 months can buy a whole set of speakers and keep them for 20 years if you
Mm.
don't blow them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, it's not easy. It's not cheap living here, and I don't live fancy. I live very humble. But um, my way of thinking is put the effort in the business because the business feeds the family.
Mm.
If you don't put enough effort in the business, there won't be enough for the family.
Right. Makes
Okay.
sense.
So when my kids, when my kid was born, I actually put more money in the business to invest in the business because I wanted to have a better studio
Mm.
so I can bring more work in and better results.
Mm.
Then when my second kid was born, again, I invested even more. Like it's all the time was getting it better because in the end of the day, the business feeds the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I don't prioritize enough in the business, then the family will have less to live with.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
again, we're living humbly. We're not fancy living. So
Right.
we're living good enough. We have the food we need, we have the clothing, the toys, education. Everything is good.
Mm.
Good.
Yeah.
But to do that, from working in the music industry, you want to invest in the right areas, and investing in the business was a good way to keep the ball rolling financially in the family too.
Yeah.
And it's and again, money goes back into the business, and that's why I told you in the beginning, the passion of what I'm doing, I keep pushing into it and putting into it.
Mm.
That way I can keep investing in the business to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that approach, man. Because I mean, I find myself, it can be hard to sometimes, invest in your business, whatever that is. Um, because maybe you're scared about, oh, will this investment pay off? For example, let's say it's ads, because that's what we spoke about before. But yeah, it can be scary to do that, I guess. But what you're saying is correct, and it makes sense.
You have to be calculated,
Of
okay?
course.
Even with ads. So don't take the biggest ad, don't take the smallest ad. Find what the ad that is effective for your target audience.
Hmm.
Something that is good enough for you to be seen. Put the effort getting out there. It's important. Today, I have way less time to go out there like I used to years ago
Mm.
because I have to be here to, work and do the things I need to do. And at the same time, I also have to do stuff with the family.
Hmm.
So I have way less time to invest in going to all the events around town, outside town. Before I had kids, I went to a lot of them. Even when I had the first kid, I still did go to a lot of them. But throughout the years, you go less and less because you have less and less time to put into it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know. So,
Yeah. Um, so something I'm curious to hear is like when a client reaches out to you, say, "Hey, Maor, I want you to master my album," for example. Um, what are some of the first questions you ask the client to determine if it's a good project for you and if the budget is enough for you? And yeah, what's your process like when it comes to that?
well, first of all, some clients are not interested in discussing anything.
Right.
Some of them are just throwing you an email
Mm-hmm.
because they're throwing 200 emails or 13 emails, whatever,
Right.
just to hear what you're like on their short list or long list, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
because you're qualified by them to work on their record, but they're not really interested in being just with you. They're interested in who gives them the best deal. And that's okay. If they
Right.
have a certain budget, that makes sense.
Mm.
So when I get an email, I usually ask for more information. Now, some of them give the information immediately, and then I'll give them the price because they're asking the price. But I also put an opening there for discussion because I want to know more. And I'll ask them, can you give me a call? What's your number? Let's talk. Because a lot of times they'll put the information, but there's a missing information. For example, they're not sure if they're doing vinyl, or they're not sure if it's going for CD as well, or just streaming, or like that's things that are part of the work that it's better to know, and they're not always written.
Mm.
And some clients, they don't take in consideration revisions. Now, certain guys will charge for certain revisions. Others might not charge for revisions, but different types of revisions they will. And I had times where a client will talk to me and say, "Oh, I'm a bit expensive for him," and he went to somewhere else, was cheaper, but he paid more than he would pay for me
Right.
because it was cheaper, but it wasn't including revisions.
Yeah.
And then by the time they finished the record, it cost even more than working with me, which I was more, a bit more expensive in the get go.
Mm.
But, but
Oh, so
so I like to ask.
it cut out there for 2 seconds, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they
Mm.
paid more to somebody who was cheaper than hiring me, and I
Right.
was a bit more expensive, but they probably would save 300, $400,
Right.
which was the difference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, it was actually less. 400. Yeah, the difference was really small, but they paid more, like
Mm.
above my rate, another $400.
Right, right, right.
They paid $800 in total more.
Right.
But the difference between me and the other guy was $400, and at the end of the day, they paid another $400. So,
Right, right.
so I like to usually talk with the client and see what they're looking for. Um, Sometimes they have an idea, and that idea can work. Sometimes the idea doesn't work exactly with what they have. Um, Sometimes they don't. They're like, "Oh, we got 20 songs," and then maybe those 20 songs are not at their best state.
Mm.
Maybe it's best to do just 10 songs.
Right.
Will be cheaper for them, and they probably will sound better. So, if they're willing to talk, it's always better because you know you'll know better, they'll know better, and then
Mm.
price wise, it's easier to work with them because you got everything in front of you.
Yeah.
You know,
But do you
and
have a fixed fee, or do you charge based on the project, based on what the client wants, for
I have a
example?
fixed fee per song. And then if you're doing prog music or really long music, it doesn't have to be prog. But if you're doing long songs, then I also take the overall length,
Right.
the approximate running time, and then I divide it and calculate what would fit. Because it's not fair to work on a 10-minute song and charge it like a
Sure.
3 to 5 minute song. There's a lot of things that can happen during the way. You got more work to do inside.
Mm-mm.
But it's usually per song rate, and then it multiplies by the amount of songs.
Right.
And if it's long songs or a long record, I take the approximate running time and make a division of
Mm-mm.
it, and then decide what's the price. And then if there's other formats needed, that can change the price as well.
Right. It's like a CD or vinyl or
CD usually I don't charge extra. I
right.
you know I put the DDP included.
Yeah, yeah.
But with vinyl, sometimes there's vinyl sites to prep and certain things. And if
Mm.
there's mastered for iTunes, it
Right.
depends. That's why those cases it's good to actually talk with the band and
Mm.
know what they're
Yeah.
looking for. And sometimes they're looking for something, but it's not what they thought they're looking.
Right.
Like some would say, "Oh, we need that format for something," and then you're like, "But this will cover that too, so you don't need to spend the extra money on that."
Right.
"Oh, we didn't know." "Okay, well, here, I just showed you how I saved it. Like, I just saved you some money,
Mm.
so that's why the discussion is good usually.
Yeah. And yeah, do you prefer to get a client on the phone rather than talking on the email?
You know, I find that a lot of times in the phone conversation, Skype, what's up,
Mm-mm.
because it's more dynamics and it's real time, you get more accurate information, which later on you can summarize in an email. And I sometimes we do that. It's after a conversation. We put like bullet points of what we talked in an email.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that a lot of times when you do make that conversation, you get to the points that are more relevant, and it's easier to figure out the strategy, even deadlines. It's a lot of times they'll give you a date, but then when you're talking, you can open a calendar and say, hey, but I have an opening here and here and here. Does that work for you? And he could say, oh, this one not, but this one yes. Where in an email, sometimes because it takes time,
Yeah.
you could say I have an opening this and this and this. By the time he comes back to you, you already filled those times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because not everybody responds that fast to an email, and because not all the time you're available to respond.
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
And what is some of the other information you're trying to find when you're speaking to a client for the first time? Is it only the format, or is it also like, what's your goal with this album, for example? Where do you want to take it? Is that also part of the
Everything,
conversation?
everything we can do in that conversation that helps me understand where we're going with.
Right.
It's like to know the expectations, to know what they want, their vision. Of course, I have to hear the music, but there's certain stuff that they can say up front. For example, we don't want a loud record. We want it very dynamic. Or the opposite. We want a slammed record. Okay. Or we want a record that has this segues and feel, they can explain that. Or we're looking for something that will sound in this direction. Or they can ask me, what do you recommend in order for us to use for this format? Or there's a lot of information that can be discussed during that phone call or Skype or during that conference, and it could be anything artistically, on a musical level, on a technical level, and on an administrative level. Even just like, how do we get this done by this date? How do we get this done? When do we need to deliver the mixes? When do I need to deliver the masters to meet the deadline? Even payment details.
Yeah.
Or do you guys have ISOC codes or not? Or is this going to vinyl? When do you need to get the vinyl prep? Every information that can be passed can help.
Yeah. But do you find, because we have the sites like, what's it called? TuneCore, is that the name? Yeah, and DistroKid and stuff. Do you find that clients provide ISRC codes less these days when it comes to, because people are using those sites more? Or is still important?
You know what? It's like that question reminds me of the singles versus albums question.
Right.
I get a mixed bag of everything. I do a lot of records that are like either full length LPs or EPs or singles or compilation, remasters. And the same thing with ISRC codes. I'll get singles that I get ISRC codes supplied. I'll get records like EPs and albums that have ISRC code supplies. And then on the other cases that I just deliver, and then later on somebody embeds it.
Right.
So it's really a mixed bag. It's like some people are surprised that people make CDs. I do a ton of CDs a year, a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't think the format died. Maybe it's a niche format. Maybe it's a smaller format. Yes,
yeah,
true. Also, vinyl is, cassette is too. Even cassettes are now made again. But I get a lot of times a list of ISRC codes.
Right. Yeah, something I wonder, because I just got a project and they didn't have it because they were using DistroKid, so they do it themselves basically. It's just
so what they do is they embed the code afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Because apparently, if you use DistroKid, I believe it is, you don't. Yeah, you do it on this site rather than in the file for some reason.
Right.
Yeah. So actually, this is something I just wondered personally. It's a technical question actually, because I know. Can you? I mean, obviously you can, but let's say Pro Tools. For mastering, is it possible, or is Sequoia the way to go because you can't embed ISRC codes more easily in Sequoia? You can do DDP and all those sort of things. What do you use?
Well, first of all, when you say mastering, there's a difference between mastering like audio-wise,
Right.
and then putting codes.
Mm-hmm.
So mastering you can do in every DAW that will let you process an audio
Mm-hmm.
format
Sure, yeah.
in the box or sending outside the box. In terms of encoding, you can do with dedicated programs for encoding.
Mm.
Like a Sonorous DDP. You can make a DDP in Sonorous from files you've made on Pro Tools.
Right.
You can do any, from Sequoia, Wavelab, Waveburner, Soundblade, Pyromix, Sadie,
Right.
Samplitude. I mean, there's so many programs out there, and a lot of them have the ability. I don't know if Samplitude has, but
Right.
I think they do. But um, Studio One, a lot of these programs will let you embed IRC codes.
Right.
But those who don't, then there's other programs who will let you
Mm-hmm.
do that. Any
Mm.
DDP creator, or there's wave file editors that have. Am I in the picture?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Just joking. Um,
yeah.
there a lot of them are out there, so you can use that. So any of those are fine. And every program has their workflow
Mm.
and audio capabilities, which now I'm stepping into the realms of arguments. But
Right.
um, everybody, it's like I've heard different programs, and you know, each one of them has their pros and cons. And some of
Mm.
them would like a higher quality program that has a harder workflow, and some of them would like one that has a really easy workflow, even if the quality is a bit less,
Mm-hmm.
because they can focus on the creativity, and that a lot of times that's what's important too.
Yeah.
If not maybe most sometimes,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
to focus on that, and in other cases, the quality.
Mm.
But yeah, you can use them all.
Cool. But so when you sit down to master an album, could you take us through your process and your routine before you actually get to the creative parts? When you actually master, what's your process before, like, to get it all ready?
It's a good question, because even listening is a creative thing, because you can choose how to listen to something.
Mm.
You can listen to it in a way of just being technical, like, okay, what frequencies I hear, or you can listen to it in a way that, what does this make me feel and where it brings me to. I think that's probably the difference between different mastering guys. I mean, they can all do a great job. They'll probably give you a different result based on the way they're listening to it.
Mm.
One might, of course, they're all going to listen to things that are problematic, but sometimes they'll keep the problem because fixing it will create another problem or a different problem,
Right.
or it will just change it in a way that's not great for it. So I'll listen to to the music. Now, if I hear issues that are major, then I might um, call the mixer and say, hey, I noticed this and this. Is that intentional? Or, you want to fix it or not fix it? If you want me just to work with it as is, or you want to change something before I work on it, so then, will sound better. Let's say there's excessive low end. Maybe you can clean up the bass or the kick before I clean the whole low end, and that way I don't have to shave the whole low end and just keep it, and or let's say the high end on the cymbals is too abrasive. Instead of me lowering it down, if you can maybe just soften the cymbals,
Mm.
hi hats or stuff like that, or if the vocals are, if you can DS or whatever, that will make it better. Or if something is a bit too low and not too high, I'll ask these questions if it's really a major issue. If it's not, if it's something that I can work with, no problem. I'll
Mm.
continue with
Right.
it. And That's probably the first section of listening, is identifying things that might create issues.
Okay.
And then my second, and this is like autopilot. Okay, so it's,
Mm.
it's not like I run one, two, three. It just happens. Second thing is what do I feel from this? What does this remind me of? This not specifically remind me like frequency, but more of like what type of feel I'm getting from this. This reminds me of a certain era, a certain aesthetic of a certain era, a certain type of record that was done like this, a certain feel of a show, of a emotional impact.
Mm.
I try to get that first because that's to me the clue to where to take it.
Mm.
And then I make decisions based on, okay, I think this needs this and this needs that, or this doesn't need this or that. It's because this creates this feel, and if I'm getting in that feel, okay, I'm not trying to be too technical. I mean, some people think I'm technical because I don't know, because maybe talk a bit technical, a bit,
Right, right.
but I'm not that technical. A lot of my mastering is actually very, very non-technical. It involves gear, it involves decisions on what gear to use, but
Mm.
it's not that technical. It's more of visualizing the music and feeling it. It's how it um, makes me feel and makes me resonate with it. There's records that were super bright and they actually don't need to be bright. They need to be dark.
Mm.
Sometimes there are records that are really dark, but they can benefit from brightness. Or some records are not aggressive enough and they can be more aggressive.
Right.
Or some of them needs to be softer a bit.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll take records and move them in an era. Like I'll go like, this sounds too much today. It needs to sound like 90s.
Right.
And then I put it in the 90s feel and it's like, oh yeah, that's perfect. It actually fits what they were doing,
Right,
you
right.
know? Or this is more of an 80s thing. Let's make it feel more 80s
Yeah.
or 70s or whatever, or this is more punk, even though it's not punk, but it has a punk feel.
Mm.
Let's exaggerate the punkiness. Or
Mm.
this is very high. This could sound more hi-fi, or this could sound more 3D or more moving.
Mm.
It's a lot of that. Cinematic. Let's make this more cinematic. Instead of punching and hitting in your face, let's make it more cinematic and moving and
Right.
feel it. It's a
And
lot of that. It's
yeah.
again, I know that a lot of times people assume it's technical, but I don't think it's technical. I think it's very, very artistic, but
Hmm.
you use your tools in ways that could be technical.
Yeah. But
I have enough here to choose from that I can. Oh, okay, this is cool. This is cool. This. Oh, okay, I like this. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You play around with the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you move knobs and switches, and oh, I like that. Then you find out it was on bypass.
Yeah.
Oh
Classic.
yeah, bypass was actually good. Okay, then I don't need it. Okay,
Yeah.
then take that thing out. Put this, put that out. Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, it's really the process is something you can learn
Mm.
in terms of learning different ideas to work with, and it's a skill you can develop in years and improve. If you're talented, that's a bonus.
Mm.
It will make you better.
Yeah.
If you have a thing for it, if you have good instincts, yeah,
Mm.
you know. But there are hits and misses.
Yeah.
Not every time it's exactly. Sometimes you do it and it's amazing and people dig it, and sometimes it requires you to go back and make changes, and it's because the client's taste.
Right.
And sometimes they don't request the best things, but you want to please them and you want to give them something they're happy with.
Mm.
And sometimes it's really bad ideas, and you're like, you at least I would tell them what I think, and if they still insist, then I'll do it. But I'll tell them, I think this works, I think this is not, but your decision. Sometimes you got to give them that, and then they hear it, and then you tell them, look, I gave you that, but I really don't think you need that. I think that fits better. And then you let them make the decision. Hopefully they'll make the right decision.
Mm.
Sometimes they don't. And then, you know, um, in some cases, they actually have good ideas and they actually work.
Mm.
Sometimes, they'll ask you to make a change and you're listening to it. You know what? It's not that bad. It actually works. sometimes it's almost as what you've given them, and sometimes it's not like what you've given them, but it's close enough and it's not degrading it.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's actually surprising. It's like, oh wow, that ad is really improving it.
Yeah. But do you also use a reference tracks when you before? No.
The only reference tracks I usually use is I ask them to send me if they had a loud version,
Right.
like the mixer gave them like a pumped up version so they can hear it and not worry about why
Yeah.
it's louder than everything. Then
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
ask the mixer producer to send me the loud version so I know what they're used to.
Mm.
So at least I know what they're expecting. And sometimes they'll get a master back the same volume, just a different tone than that at the reference. Sometimes they'll get a master that is louder than the reference, or even way louder, depends. And I've had times where actually the master was lower than the reference.
Okay.
And it was very impressive that the band actually liked it because it sounded better lower.
Mm.
Sometimes you don't expect the band to actually dig it, and they did. And I
Wow.
had that actually, I had last week like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
That just goes to show that louder is not always better.
yeah, but if they get a reference, some of my clients that are mixers producer don't send a loud version. They just send the mix as is.
Mm.
They tell the client when it's mastered it's going to be louder, and the client trusts them and trusts me, and I give them something that is louder and they're happy. But in other cases, the producers mixers sometimes have to give them something louder just so they won't complain.
Yeah.
And I ask that as a reference, so so no. I had times where people gave me references of songs. Problem is, most cases those songs don't match up with what they're doing.
Right.
And they like a sound that doesn't fit what they're doing because they don't have those elements in the mix.
Mm.
Like they like the brightness of that mix. And their mix is so dark, even if you brighten, it doesn't get there. Or they like a brightness of a certain mix, but their mix is very abrasive and harsh,
Mm.
and you can't get that nice brightness because you need to dull it.
Right. Right. Right.
So if
Yeah.
they insist on using references, I'll use them. But again, a lot of times they don't match up with what they're actually doing.
Right.
And you got to tell that to the client. Hey, look, this is a $2 million record that was done in the year this and this, and they used those things, and it sounds a bit different than this, you know.
Yeah. That makes
Uh,
sense.
but and then there was times where I could take those influences that they wanted from those references, actually put. But I don't have a set of references I use. It's
Right. Right.
usually working with what I get because each recording that you will get will give you clues to where to go to. Like,
Mm.
and then also the client's feedback will give
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Exactly, man.
where to head with.
Yeah. Awesome, Maor. Before we wrap up here, where can people find more info about you? Where can people hire you? Where can people hear your music and all those sort of things?
Well, they can type, uh, on Google my name, Maor Appelbaum, Maor Appelbaum,
Hmm.
and then my website, maorappelbaum.com.
Cool.
And I also have Maor Appelbaum with a spelling mistake, just in case, MaorApplebaum.
Yeah.
But
That's how I spelled your name first.
it's a common mistake.
Yeah.
I have 5 Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook. My email is mappelbaum@gmail.com. Um, eh, there's courses online that I work with companies. Um, I
Which company is that,
I
by the way?
uh, one I'll text you later on so you can put it as a link. But
Sure.
I just did this course, um, which is actually really interesting because the
Hmm.
company really did a great job creating lessons and diagrams,
Cool.
and and the way they placed it, you can audition devices, and really nice course.
Okay. Yeah, I'll link to that below for people who
It
can
it
check it.
goes from like I get a song and I'm mastering it and I'm trying different pieces of gear and I decide not to use, not to use, not to use, and then I find what works and I
Right.
explain about the feeling of it.
Nice.
So, and in general, just my name.
Hmm.
I have another company name that I'm actually going to be doing later on. So I bought the domain for it, but I haven't built the idea behind it.
Right, right.
It's also kind of works on kind of the philosophy of how I look at mastering,
Okay, cool.
as something that is very um, engaging with the
Mm-hmm.
music. I see mastering not just as an audio tweak, but something that connects the listener better to the song and the mix. I
Right.
think good mastering just makes it pleasant to
Mm.
listen to, and it penetrates deeper, because it's pleasing, and when
Mm.
it's pleasing, you want to get more of it.
Yeah.
Even though the song, is the melody, is the chord progression, is the rhythm, is the groove, is everything, is the lyrics, is whatever it is. But I think the sonic imprint of it and what you do to it will affect how it's digested and engaging with you and how you connect with it.
Mm.
And that's what I try to do in mastering.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as if this was a picture in a museum. So what's the background to the picture? How's the lighting to the picture? You see if you see shades, how do you see the composition of in terms of brightness and darkness, and how vivid are the colors, and and in between. And so that's my approach.
Cool,
So
man. Awesome. Thank you, Maor. It was awesome talking to you, and hope you, the listener, enjoyed it as well. Again, don't forget to check out his course, the link to that below. And please, before you leave a comment and a rating below if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe, and a comment as well. If you have any questions about mastering or any questions for Maor, leave that below. Also, don't forget to download your free guide, 3 tested ways to increase your client base. Link to that below as well. And I'll see you guys next week.